If you're ready for a story, take a seat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Nod your head and tuck your feet. Make your hands all nice and neat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Hello! My name is Angie and I work at the Galax-Carroll Regional Library, and I am so excited to share story time with you today. How are you? Have you been enjoying this beautiful fall weather? I have been. I got to go outside and take a walk today. The leaves have almost all fallen down onto the ground. It's so beautiful out. I hope that you're out enjoying it too. Today, who do you think we're going to talk about? Owls, that's right. What do owls say? Let me hear you. Hoo, hoo. That's right. Owls say hoo, hoo. And they have sharp beaks, and they have ears so they can hear really well. They have big eyes, and they have talons, which are like claws for toes. So all of our stories today are about owls, and we're going to sing some songs and do some rhymes and learn some more about owls. I hope that you're as excited as I am to talk about owls today. Our first book that we're going to read is called Good Night Owl, and it was written by Greg Pizzoli. Good Night Owl. And inside the front cover, we see Owl, and he said, "Did you hear that? Good night, Owl." Owl was settling into bed when he heard a noise. Squeak! Did you hear that noise? It was a tiny sound, no louder than a whisper, a funny noise that he hadn't heard before. "Someone must be at the door," said Owl. "Just a minute." Now, do you see what could have made that noise? There's a little mouse. But Owl doesn't see it. Only we see it. Owl went to the door, but no one was there. "Probably the wind," said Owl. The wind does look like it's blowing in that picture, doesn't it? He lay down in bed and said to himself, "Good night, Owl." Squeak! Then he heard the noise again. Did you hear the noise too? "It's coming from the cupboard," said Owl. So he went to take a look. And a cupboard is like a big cabinet. It's that big brown cabinet that has all the things on the shelves. Do you see what's hiding around the side of the cupboard? It's a red mouse. Owl emptied every shelf, but there was no noise to be found. Look at that. Owl just took everything off of the shelf, put it all over the floor, looking for the noise. He didn't find the noise, did he? So Owl went back to bed. "Good night, Owl," he said. And then he heard the noise. Squeak! "It must be under the floor," said Owl. Maybe. And he pulled up all of the floorboards one by one. Owl pulled up the floor from his house looking for the noise. But he didn't find the noise. So Owl went back to bed. Do you see the noise in the picture? Me too. Squeak! This house has a noisy roof, said Owl. Owl's looking angry now, isn't he? Oh goodness, he is getting tired of this noise. He can't find it. So he took down the roof. There, said Owl. No more noise. I don't hear a noise either. Did you hear a noise? Owl got back into bed, the stars and the moon shining down where his roof used to be. Good night, Owl, he said. But Owl didn't close his eyes. He didn't dare. He knew that any second now he would hear that noise. He waited, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited. Squeak! It's in the walls! Owl screeched. I'll get you, Noise Owl said as he tore down the walls from his house. Oh, Owl. He's looking very angry there, isn't he? But he found nothing. The cupboard was empty, the floorboards were pulled up, the roof was pulled down, and the walls were gone. Owl went back to bed, and he said, "Good night, Owl." And then he saw the noise. Squeak! Owl smiled. He said, "Good night, Noise." And they went to sleep. The end. Oh, poor old Owl. He kept hearing this noise. He didn't know what it was. He took everything off the cupboard. He pulled up the floorboards. He tore down the walls. But then he saw it was just our little friend Mouse who wanted to snuggle up with him and go to sleep. Good night, little mouse. Sleep good. You and Owl, I'll let you guys snuggle up there together. There we go. Oh my goodness. Well, for our next activity, we're going to say a rhyme, and it has some hand motions. We'll go through it a couple times. You can learn it, and you can join in whenever you want. It is called the Owl, and it goes like this. There's a wide-eyed owl with a pointed nose, 2 pointed ears, and claws for toes. He sits high up in a tree, and he looks at me, and he looks at you. He flaps his wings, and he says, "Hoo, hoo." Very good. All right, let's do it again. It goes like this. There's a wide-eyed owl with a pointed nose, 2 pointed ears, and claws for toes. He sits high up in a tree. He looks at me, and he looks at you. He flaps his wings, and he says, "Hoo, hoo." Great job, you guys. Well, our next owl story is also about an owl that's at his house. It's called Owl at Home, and it's written by Arnold Lobel. And it is one of my favorite books that I read to my boys, to my sons, when they were little. Now this book is a chapter book, and that means that it's a kind of a bigger book that's broken down into smaller stories or chapters. I'm not going to read the whole book because it's kind of long, but I'm going to read you my favorite chapter from this book. It is called Strange Bumps. You see Owl in bed again? We've got owls and they're all sleeping in their beds. That's what Storytime's about today, apparently. Okay, Strange Bumps. Owl was in bed. "It's time to blow out the candle and go to sleep," he said, with a yawn. Then Owl saw 2 bumps under the blanket. Do you see them? Do you see those 2 bumps under the blanket? At the bottom of his bed. "What can those strange bumps be?" asked Owl. I wonder what they are. Owl lifted up the blanket and he looked down into the bed. All he could see was darkness. Owl tried to sleep, but he could not. "What if those 2 strange bumps grow bigger and bigger while I'm asleep?" said Owl. That would not be pleasant. See how they've grown bigger and bigger? Owl moved his right foot up and down. The bump on the right moved up and down. "One of those bumps is moving," said Owl. Owl moved his left foot up and down. The bump on the left moved up and down. "The other bump is moving," cried Owl. Owl pulled all the covers off the bed, and the bumps were gone. All Owl could see at the bottom of the bed were his own 2 feet. "But now I'm cold," said Owl. "I'll cover myself with the blankets again." But as soon as he did, he saw the 2 same bumps. "Those bumps are back," shouted Owl. "Bumps, bumps, bumps! I will never sleep tonight." Owl jumped up and down on top of his bed. "Where are you? What are you?" he cried. With a crash and a bang, the bed came falling down. What do you think the 2 bumps are? Let's read on and find out. Owl ran down the stairs. He sat in his chair near the fire. "I'll let those 2 strange bumps sit in my bed all by himself," said Owl. "Let them grow as big as they wish. I'll sleep right here where I am safe." And that is just what he did. The end. Okay, now let's talk about this for a minute. What do you think those bumps were at the bottom of Owl's bed under his blankets? I think you're right. I think that they were his feet. Silly old Owl. Goodness. Well, let's sing a song about Owl. Maybe it'll make him feel a little less silly. The song is called Owl Song, and I'll sing it through a couple of times. And we've got our friend Owl here with us to sing along. It goes like this. I'm a great big owl, as you can see. I live high up in a tree. All the other birds wake me up to play because I like to sleep all day. Yay! I'm going to sing it again. Join me if you feel like it. I'm a great big owl, as you can see. I live high up in a tree. All the other birds wake me up to play because I like to sleep all day. Great job! Thank you for joining me in that song. Now, we know that about owls, that they like to sleep during the day and get up at night. They can use their big eyes to see really well in the dark. That's called being nocturnal. It means that you're active at night and you sleep during the day. What do you think that our friend Owl can see at night in the dark with his big eyes that we don't see during the day? Think about it and tell me, what do you think? What does owl see at night? Do you think he sees other animals crawling around and running around on the ground? Do you think that he sees the moon and the stars? Well, our next book is going to be about an owl at night. It's called Little Owl's Night, and it's written by Dia Srinivasan. I love this book because I think the pictures are so bright and beautiful. I hope that you enjoy them too. Little Owl was having a wonderful night. So what does Little Owl see here? There's a snail, and there are stars, and there's a flower. He watched the funny possum family waddle along in a neat row. So possums are nocturnal also. Possums are active at night. Hedgehog sniffed around the mushroom patch. Skunk was eating berries because he couldn't find any snails. Skunk likes to eat snails. By the river, beavers gnawed at trees. Turtle hid in her shell as fireflies danced all around. Little Owl visited his friend the raccoon. As they sat in the clover, fog rolled in and hovered just overhead. What are they eating? Acorns, that's right. Moths fluttered toward the moon. Silver dust fell from their wings. Little Owl wanted to follow, but it was time to head home. On the way, Little Owl flew by Grumbly Cave. Bear was inside, snoring up a storm. Wake up, Bear, don't sleep all night, Little Owl sang. I want to show you the moon. But the bear kept snoring as usual. Little Owl flew home to his tree, gazing at the sky. He wondered if the bear had ever seen the stars. Because bears aren't nocturnal, they sleep during the night and they're up during the day. So I wonder if bears see stars. Little Owl sat on his branch. How he loved the night forest. Frog croaked softly. Cricket chirped smartly. Little Owl heard rustling at the foot of his tree. Fox had come to say hello. It was late now. The bats were gliding home. Mama, Little Owl whispered, tell me again how night ends. The moon and stars fade to ghosts, Mama said. Spiderwebs turn to silver threads. Dewdrops sparkle on the leaves and grass like tiny stars come down. Moonflowers close and morning glories open. The sky brightens from black to blue, blue to red, red to gold. The rooster crows, the crows call, and the day begins, said Mama. But Little Owl did not hear. He was fast asleep. The end. There were lots of things that Little Owl saw in the forest at night that we couldn't see during the day. What are some of the things that Little Owl saw in the forest? He saw a skunk and a raccoon and the moon and moths and bats These are all creatures that come out at night that we don't see during the day. All right, well, we have a felt board activity. Before we wrap things up, I've got our 5 hoot owls sitting here. Let's count them together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 hoot owls sitting in a tree. One flew away. How many do we see? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hoot owls sitting in a tree. One flew away. How many do we see? 1, 2, 3. Good job. 3 hoot owls sitting in a tree. One flew away. How many do we see? 2. 1, 2. 2 hoot owls sitting in a tree. One flew away, and then there was 1. That's right. 1 hoot owl sitting in a tree. It flew away, and then there were none. Oh gosh, you guys, I've had so much fun talking about owls today. Thank you so much for joining me. We will have a new virtual story time every week. I'll upload them to the library's website and to our Facebook page and our YouTube page at 10:30 every Wednesday, but they'll be there all week. So if you can't make it at 10:30 on Wednesday, you can come back anytime and watch it. We will have take and make activity bags. This is kind of new. We're going to have one a month for 3 different age groups. We'll have one for preschool, one for elementary, and one for teenagers. And those will be bags that have a craft or activity, and you can pick them up at the library and take them home and make them. And those will be available while supplies last, beginning on Tuesday, November 16th. So write that down on your calendar. Make sure you come by the library on Tuesday, November 16th to pick up your take and make activity bag for your age group. The library is still open. Please come by and check out books. If you see me, say hello. I miss seeing you all at Storytime in person. But until then, thanks for sitting, thanks for listening, thanks for coming here today. Now that story time is over, hope you have a lovely day. Bye. I'll see you next time.